Hello. Hi guys, I'm just gonna wait. Hi Xaviera. I'm just gonna wait for a few people to join and then I'll get started. Welcome to Minority Mental Health Awareness Month continues with our guest speaker. We are going to have Peter, as usual, joining us. So before we start, I just wanted to give a few statistics and then we will get started. So these statistics are according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services as well as the CDC. So it says that poverty levels affect mental health status and that African Americans living below poverty level compared to those twice the poverty level are twice as likely to report psychological distress. In 2017, suicide was the second leading cause of death in African Americans ages 15 to 24. According to the CDC, among men ages 18 through 44, non-Hispanic Black and Hispanic men were less likely than non-Hispanic white men to report feelings of anxiety or depression. And the significant racial and ethnic disparity in treatment utilization was associated with a lack of health insurance coverage. Also, compared with white Americans, persons of other races in the U.S. are less likely to have access to and receive the needed mental health care that they need. So those statistics were provided by the CDC.gov and minoritymentalhealth.hhs.gov. So now I'm going to see if I can bring Peter on. So I'm just going to wait for him to join. I'm sorry. I know I said a mouthful. Hi.
Hey.
Welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. Hope you're having a good day so far.
Yes, I am. How are you? How's your day going?
It's been good so far. It's been raining over here in Georgia, so it's been cool. So I like it cool.
That's good. That's always good. Especially, I mean, it's been really hot. I'm in New Jersey, but it's been really hot over here. So
Gotcha.
that's good.
Thank you for the invite, by the way.
I am so excited to have you here. So welcome.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background, tell us about your profession and your specialty.
Okay. So my name is Peter Ajujo. I saw you trying to pronounce the last name. You did a good job. It's all good. It's all good. Ajujo, I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia. I practice mainly second hour outside of Atlanta, but since COVID, we've been doing telehealth. And so pretty much seeing clients all over. If you're in Georgia and you want to see me, by all means, you're welcome. So I've been doing that for about 5 years now. I worked a lot with kids and DFACS, the foster care system. I work a lot with them for a little bit, but I've been, since the past year and a half, I've been transitioning towards working more with minority population, more specifically Black men. I've been men of color. I've been working with them for the past year and a half, just because I saw there was like a need for more of us to be in counseling to where we can talk about our mental health. So I've sort of shifted towards a little bit more towards men of color in the past year and a half.
Yeah.
So
How has that transition been for you?
it's been slow. I started and then I had to stop because I had to go back home. There was some issues, death in the family, so I had to travel back home. So then I was like, a stop and start. And then when I came back, there was some other issues, and then COVID happened. So now we had to. So I shut off a little bit, figure out how to transition, and then thank God for Zoom. So then Zoom came along. So then we've been transitioned. That so it's been like I said. I was hoping to be further along by now in 2020, but I understand, life happens sometimes, so just adjust and then, keep going. So it's been slow this year, but so far, I'm sort of rebuilding back up. So yeah.
That's good. And like you said, it's good we have Zoom technology that we can use. So that is great.
Yes. Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, what made you decide to become a counselor?
Well, my dad is a minister, so we've always, I guess, had um, I guess, the heart to want to help people, but I did not want to go that route. That's too exhausting for me. Um, it's too much drama in the church. As much as I love the church and I still go, but I still wanted to find a different way to serve, and so counseling, just seems like the right fit for me. We had I attended a couple of our job fairs, and then I found like I like to do counseling. So then I got into psychology, and then went to grad school for that. And so once I got into it, I started to figure out what my niche is. So like I said, it's been 5 years of trying to figure it out. Okay, what population I want to really focus on. And then so the more I've been working with more clients, the more I'm realizing what the ones that I do see, the black males that do come in, it's either they're mandated by the court, right, or they're like their wife or their spouse or their mom is making them come. Um, and so I'm like, okay, so looking at the statistic, there's a need for it, but we don't go out looking for it ourselves. And so I wanted to, make it a space where black men can feel comfortable coming to share. And so it's been, like I said, it's been a slow process because it's not something that black men are seeking to do. But slowly and surely, you find one or two that are coming in, and then that encourages me to keep going. And so, just to hopefully get the news out that hey, there's no stigma or weakness against seeking counsel or seeking help. It's very healthy, actually. The same way you check in physically with your physician, once or twice a year, or when you have a headache or some chest pains. That same way, go to the gym, work out your physical body. That same way, you have to, once in a while, just check in. You don't have to wait till something happens. Just, check in once in a while with your therapist. A therapist will say, hey, I just want to check in, see how I'm doing. Um, Either by yourself, with your spouse, with your family. So either way. But yeah, I would definitely recommend just a check in once in a while.
Right. And I feel like, checking in on your mental health is such an investment. I know, or like I was reading off some statistics. I know a lot of the reason is because of the cost of mental health care, but it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely an investment when you decide to, invest in yourself. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I would also like to talk to you. You touched on a little bit, but could you maybe elaborate more on the importance of taking care of your mental health as a man?
I think for me, that wasn't something that was I guess really highlighted for me. And until I got into grad school, and then I was like struggling to sort of get through the classes, and then talking to friends, talking to professors, figure out, hey Peter, as much as you take care of all the other stuff, you have to take care of what's up here as well too. It's very important because if you're looking at the statistics, right, if you're not taking care of your mental health, then we're stressed out, we have anxiety, we have depression, we have different mental health issues that are going on. It can manifest into a physical symptoms as well, right? Stress, it causes a lot of like heart problems, heart disease, high blood pressure, especially in the black community, right? There's a lot of stress in the black community, and that is also part of it. I believe is the fact that we are not seeking the appropriate professional help to handle our mental health needs, and so then we are waiting until we're stressed out. We're waiting until things fall apart. There's a crisis. We're running into our physicians, and sometimes some of them are good about to say, hey, this is not a physical thing or medical. This is more of a psychological, what do you call mental issue. So here's a therapist. Now, what the chances of us following through to go actually find a therapist is going to be no, doc, I'm okay, I'm good. I'll just I'll be fine.
Right.
But just give me something, I'll be fine. Just need to sloop it up, take a vacation or something. I'll pray on it, and then I'm good. Coming from the church, let's pray on it, and then I'm good. Right? There's a lot of that. Which again, I'm all for what do you call it? A holistic approach. Definitely, I say, to my clients, by all means, read your Bible, say your prayers, go see your pastor, go to the gym, all this stuff. But also making sure that yes, you do check in because not everything can be prayed away, or you take medicine for it and that's it.
Right, absolutely. I
Hmm.
agree with that. And you do hear that, especially if in the black community,
Hmm.
with a religious background, that is kind of the go-to, like just to pray about it, read your Bible, read scriptures,
Hmm.
but sometimes you really do need an outlet, um, I feel, to speak about it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, think about.
but
Go ahead. So think about, like, just COVID by itself.
mhm,
Trauma is defined as, something upsetting or confusing that happens. That's it. That's just the form. So trauma is no longer soldiers going to, battlefield, getting shot at, PTSD. That's not just trauma. Is just the trauma can be, my girlfriend broke up with me, so I'm upset. I'm confused about it. Like, just think about COVID, right? The information is still fluid,
right.
right? We're still trying to understand everything that's been going on right now.
Hmm.
How to take care of ourselves, what to do, wear a mask, wear, goggles, wear head. Like, there's so many things going on, you know, social distancing. We're talking about kids going back to school right now, and parents are having to manage. How do we do that? So there's so much confusion going on right now. We are all, just by COVID itself, we are all, been experiencing trauma in the past, I guess, well, since late last year, but like it really shut down like mid-March,
Right.
right? That's when everything shut down. So like we've all been experiencing, some form of trauma or another in the since like March, right? So we're all going through like mental health struggles,
Yes, I agree.
right? And so it's very important. That's why, it's very important that like I and my colleagues, like, we're cognizant of putting things online to say, hey, check in with people that are saying I'm okay. You're strong people. You're strong men. Please check in with them.
Right.
Even if they said they're okay, just just check in and say, hey, how are you doing? How was work? There's a lot of like financial struggles that happen. Everything shut down.
Hmm.
Some people were able to, work from home. Some people were not so lucky. Hours got shut down. Some people got laid off. So again, just financially, people were struggling. So check in with your strong men, your strong women. How are you guys doing? So it was very important. So like that's something that like I know for me that I was making sure that I was checking in with my family, with my brothers, with my sister, just to see, hey, it's a lot going on right now. How are you doing?
Right. That is so important. And I totally agree.
Mhm.
Like, I'm always like, check
Mhm.
with your strong friends. So I completely
Mhm.
agree with that. So, next question. What are some reasons you feel that men are reluctant to speak about mental health?
I think well, there's a couple of reasons. One, for me personally, that growing up, that wasn't something that was like discussed, right? That wasn't discussed, and so that's a part of it. So if you're coming up in a home where it wasn't discussed, then we're not likely to seek it. And then also there's the stigma, or there's a label of, it's seen as weak,
Mhm.
right? Tough up, suck it up, you know. I just had a client the other day who was telling me he cannot talk to his wife. He injured himself, and he said he cannot talk to his wife or his boys because he doesn't want to come across as weak,
Right.
right? And I'm saying, but you were saying that they're not able to understand what you're going through. So if you think you're able to maybe express yourself more, maybe they can be able to assist you, support you. And he said yes, but he doesn't want to come across as weak. He can't have his wife see him as weak.
Mm.
So again, I was just Saturday. We are just talking to the men's group that I run. We're just talking to one attendee about there is a stigma of, yes, men are seen as weak, but also women also they also hold up this stigma as well. That, my man cannot be seen crying. Or I don't want my man, sharing his emotions or being all mushy. So toxic masculinity,
Right.
right? So there's shame attached to everything like that. So again, so if that is the issue going on, then guess what? I'm not going to open it. I'm just going to keep everything bottled down. Maybe, blow up once in a while. Anger, that's what I go to,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what we go to. And also, there is also, as you mentioned earlier, right? The accessibility to it as well too. A lot of us may not have access to it, or we don't have the financial capability to go see counseling as well too. So even if you want to, we cannot do it,
Right.
right? So there's a lot of factors that go into it as well too.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit because that was actually
Hmm.
one of my questions is how as women and as wives or even as mothers, that have sons, how can we create a safe space, so to speak, where men can come and speak to us? What do you think about that? Like what can a woman do? Like to make create a safe space so that their child,
Okay.
that their husband can come and openly speak and express themselves.
Okay. So I think I know for me in a relationship, it's very important for me to be comfortable, right, with my with the other person. So for me, if I'm going to either friends, intimate relationship, colleagues at work, all of them is there has to be a level of comfortability, right? So I'll test the water for a little bit to see. I might make a comment here or share something or something vulnerable, right? To say, hey, to see how this person responds to it. Now, if I feel safe enough, which is, oh, Peter, I'm sorry that you're going through this. What can I do to help? Your feelings are valid. Validating our feelings is very important to me, right? So it's not that, oh, yeah, just tough it up or you're crazy or that's not true. Just, validate our emotions is very important for us. Right. So just that alone, okay. So this person, is taking what I said seriously. Mom is taking what I said seriously. My spouse is taking what I said seriously. Okay, cool. So then next time, guess what? They'll be a little more open to come to you, right? But then if we brush it off, again, making time for it. So it's a space, actually making time for it as well. So when we talk about like checking in, that's also important. So it's not just like, oh, how's your day? It's cool. Okay, tell me a little bit more. What about it was cool? So we go into this gamut of just just how we just ask questions. How was your day? What's up with you? Oh no, I'm good, thank you, and that's it. So
Mm-hmm.
like for me, it's like, do you actually want to know how my day was? Right? How much do you want to know how my day was? So if it was just to say, just to check off a box to say, oh yeah, I asked him, he said it was cool. No, well, I so for me, for my clients, I have like about 20 questions of like different ways to ask the simple question, how was your day? It can be like, what was something good that happened today? What was something positive? What was something that like you had you roll in your eyes today? Who pissed you off today? What app did you use on your phone today? What music you listen to? Have you watched anything that made you laugh today? So just different ways to ask that same simple question, how was your day, or how are you doing? So just that will give me space to say, oh, okay, let me stop and think. And also, like for us, also it's like we don't get asked that question a lot. Like, no, really, like, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then we also have to stop and say, okay, let me think how I'm doing myself. That's also important. So again, making sure we feel safe, we don't brush us off, right? And then of course you're creating the time to actually to legit say, okay, this person really cares about me. They want to know how I'm doing. I think those are very important. So if we can like get those things, create those spaces for our spouses, our wives, our children, our men or women, then I've noticed that for me, at least with the clients that I work with, it says, okay, I feel a little more comfortable sharing with you, right? And then, of course, also encouraging, emotional vocabulary. A lot of it having to do with like we don't have that emotional vocabulary, right? Especially for black men, to just go, I'm just gonna blow up. Anger is our go-to, right? And we walk off and we shut down completely,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's very important to us. Okay, if you know that your man or your boy or whoever your child is doesn't have that emotional vocabulary, again, going back to we were talking about, invest in yourself. So if you can at least get them into like one or two sessions. If nothing else, let's say for boys, at least the school counselor, they have those tools, right? They have those tools. They can go in there to say, hey, my son seems to be struggling to express himself. Can you just, give him some tools? Even for like ourselves, some things that I give parents, right, is, just look up the emojis, right? The emojis that we all use on our phones. Those, our kids use them all the time. Right, so then use that as a communication to say, hey, how are you feeling about this? Let them tell you more about it. And it's not just they type it out like, okay, okay, the funny face with the with the eyebrow. Wait, what does that mean? Let's talk about it. Right? What does that mean to you? Right? So then you're meeting them where they are at as well too.
Right.
right? It's very important. That's very important. You meet them where they are. They cannot be on your level, especially if you have that emotional vocabulary and they don't. You cannot expect them to communicate, to give you what they don't have,
Right.
right? For men, I cannot, like I said, I got into grad school before I would really, really build up my emotional vocabulary,
Mm.
right? Because not that I grew up in a two-parent home, loving, I have three sisters, well, we grew up, nice and everything, but like that just wasn't something that was really expressed, right? Until I got into grad school and going to the counseling program, that's when, okay, I really built my emotional vocabulary. So again, if I didn't have it before then I cannot give it.
Correct.
So that's very important.
I completely understand with that. I have like a magnet on my refrigerator with like different emotions and like you can
Mm-hmm.
move it. So I have three children, by the way. So
Okay.
so it's like really important to me. And I see like based on what you're saying, what I'm understanding is that it definitely has you have to put in the effort and it has to be
Mm-hmm.
something that's intentional. So you have to like
Mm-hmm.
really want to understand how the person is feeling or what is making
Yes.
behave in a certain manner.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's not just the bad people or the bad kids who don't know how to express or speak up. Sometimes they don't have the words to express it.
mm,
So that's very important. And if nothing else, be consistent. That's something right. To be consistent. If you're serious about getting to know your man, your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife, whoever it is, whoever you want to build this connection with, right? If you're if that's very important to you, then you have to be consistent. That means giving them time to get to that place where they're like, okay, she's been asking how I've been doing for like the past month and a half or something. Let me give her something so she can get off my back. Even that, right? Even that, because I have clients like that who come in and they don't want to talk. Okay, cool. We can just sit here quietly or play some game or just do something. Eventually, they know that if I'm showing up every single day, eventually, let me just tell Peter something so like my mom can quit bringing me over here, or something along those lines, right? Um, okay, I'm here. I might as well get it over with. So like being consistent with it, it's not going to happen overnight. That is very key.
right.
Being very consistent with it. That means it might take a couple of weeks, a couple of months, but just being intentional, continuing to do that. I think that's very key. When they know that this person is serious, cares for me, wants to know about what's going on inside, what's going on, in my head, they'll eventually open up. But that consistency, it's key as well.
Got it. So my next question is how do you think family dynamics shape mental health? You kind of already touched this, but like how do you think
Hmm.
it like shapes even the stigma that is attached to mental health based on the dynamics
Hmm.
of the family, like whether like let's say outside of like religion, let's say a single family home or
Hmm.
um whatever
Hmm.
a family hates that.
I would say I think it's a big part of it, right? Because we're talking about your emotional vocabulary, right? The emotional IQ. So how you were brought up, whether in a two-parent home or a single home, however you were brought up, I think is very key, right? If you're brought up, especially if you're brought up in a home where emotions are not expressed, right? Some of the things that we do when I'm building emotional vocabulary with my clients is take it all the way back to like when you were a kid. How was laughter? How was happiness expressed in your home? How was sadness, anger? How was those things expressed in your home? How did mom and dad show love? Or if it was just mom or just dad, how did they show all these different emotions? Because that's how we build ours on as well as adults,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whether it's a single parent home or two parent home or whichever one or no parent home, if whatever home you grew up in, however those emotions are exhibited or displayed, that's how as adults, if we don't take the opportunity to work on those things, that's how we display it as adults.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like difficult. So again, if you grew up in a home where those things were not encouraged for you to express yourself, right? Then we have adults who just, who don't know how to, connect with someone emotionally because guess what? They didn't have that growing up. So it's difficult for you. Again, something that I don't have, I cannot give you,
Mm.
right? So that's very key. We talk about attachment. So like healthy or unhealthy attachment. It's a lot of it goes into that. If parents, mom or dad didn't, hug you enough or didn't really are not affectionate towards you, it's hard for an adult to, again, be in an affectionate relationship as well too. So again, how we were brought up, if those things are not, displayed or shown to us when we're growing up, those things we grow up distant or we don't know how to be in a relationship or we cling on too strong because again we don't know how to just foster healthy relationships, so we cling on too strong and then we scare some people off. Right. So all those things are very important. So knowing yourself, if I would say everybody needs to, at least once check in with the therapist just to see where you're at. Even if you're brought up in a healthy way, life is stressful right now. Like I said, just through COVID, it's stressful right now. Between COVID and the protests and 2020 started off with Kobe dying and that tragic, all those people dying. So it's like 2020 has been a lot of stressful, traumatic events that happen along in 2020. So if you don't have that emotional vocabulary, like what families, I talked about that with my friends, with my family. We talked about those things. So how is it going? How are you handling 2020 so far?
Right.
So if you don't have that support system, that is something that you should sort out.
I agree. Since you're touching on that, I was gonna wait to talk about that, but since you're touching on that, I actually wanted to talk more about like even with the like not only with COVID, but with the protests, right?
Mhm.
Um, how do you think that is affecting men and like
I
seeing
think.
images, of men being killed, on
Mhm.
on the news?
Mhm. Um. So I think for a lot of men, a lot of black men, let me use myself as an example. When things shut down, um, I couldn't go to the gym, and so I started walking around my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in the evening time, I'll just go walk around for like an hour or so. That was Ahmaud Arbery died. Maybe was killed. Sorry, was killed in February or January, or at least we heard about it. Right. He came to our conscience. I think it's like February or January, which was like about a month. And then everything shut down. So for me, going out, going out to go walk around. I was very conscious about that.
Right.
Right, as a black man going out walking in my neighborhood, I was very conscious about that. Right, so if somebody was like crossing the street that was coming, I'm thinking, okay, are you crossing the street because I'm a black man coming walking by, or are you social distancing?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, even like when I'm walking, so just even the walks, I'm thinking like, my neighbors, again, I'm kind of a quiet person, so I just stay to myself. I wave to my neighbors and just keep it moving. So a lot of them don't know me, I don't know them. So again, now all of a sudden, past March, April, May, there's this black guy walking every day in the neighborhood around, sometimes with a hoodie on. I'm bald, you can see. I like to like keep my head warm sometimes. So I have a hoodie on sometimes. So again, black guy all of a sudden walking around the neighborhood every evening. I'm thinking, what are my neighbors thinking? They don't know me, I don't know them. What are they thinking? So I was like stressed out about those things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I was talking to my friend about it, and he was saying even him driving around, he's stressed out just driving around. So now he has like make sure he's setting up appropriately when he's driving around, just to make sure that he doesn't get stopped. Right. And then we see everything on TV, and it's upsetting to see what's going on TV, on social media, you know. And so it's like a lot of men, black men, and a lot of I've seen just all races as well this time around. Like the protests, a lot of people are upset. But just speaking to my friends, and I know that they were struggling to handle it because they were angry. A lot of anger was going on,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also, how do we like let that out? How do we process that, right? And so like talking to a couple of my colleagues, my friends, we're able to like kind of go through that because some people just they're still like they found themselves just getting angry for no reason, right? Like the whole week they were just like snapping off at people, and they're like, what's going on? And then when they took the time to step back, and they're like, oh, it's what's going on with the protests, with George Floyd, with Breonna Taylor, with Ahmaud, with what's been going on. That's why I'm like, because sometimes we tense up, sometimes we don't even realize that we tensing up,
Right.
right? So we carry a lot of weight around, and we don't sometimes don't even realize it.
Mhm.
So again, so like he was just thinking, oh, it's because I've been watching this stuff and it's upsetting me. That's why I'm snapping off at my coworkers. It's anything they did. Like it's just this thing that is going on. It's like I've been exposed to it so long. So he took some time off. It's like, oh, let me shut it down, social media for a little bit, just so I could just decompress.
Mhm.
Right. So I know like a lot of just talking to my friends about it, they were really, really, affected in a hard way. And so it's like, and one of my friends, a teacher, and he was telling me the reason why we still have like young people out protesting is because they are angry because their parents, their grandparents, great grandparents have had to deal with this for so long, and they are sick and tired of it.
Right.
That's why young people are protesting, burning things down, turning things over, because they are sick and tired of it at this point.
Right.
Right, and that's the way of, okay, we don't want to take, we don't, it's enough, it's enough at this point. So some people may not have understood that, but like talking to my friends, I'm like, this is why he's a teacher, he works, so he's like talking to his students, and they're like, this is why we're angry, because we don't want to have this conversation with our grandkids.
Right. Right. And
So
it's hurtful and it's so hard even trying, like I said, I have children, I have two boys, so even trying to
mhm,
get to my sons was really difficult, just trying to explain that, just trying like what you said, like when you walk through your neighborhood or like some concerns that as African Americans we deal with, like trying to make ourselves, like we can't just walk outside. It can't just be normal. We can't just get in our car. It has to be like a
mhm,
process. It's like, okay, let me do this so that it's not perceived as something else. Or,
mhm.
go in the store, like
I agree.
how to buy something so that they don't follow me. Like
Mhm.
stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah. When everything shut down and Dr. Fauci and other professionals were on TV, recommending the face mask. Well, they were recommending that, which is great. But for a black man, the stigma has been if a black man has a face mask on or covering their face, they're perceived as dangerous in a gang related. So guess what? You asking me to do that, you're asking me to protect myself, but it doesn't make me feel safe to
right,
put a mask on. So there is a conflict. Well, do I put it on or don't I put it on? I want to be safe. My health is important to me. But again, I don't want my neighbors looking at me like, why does he have a mask on? Like, is he, again, protecting himself from COVID? Or is there something else going on? So I have to have all that process going on. So like you said, you're exactly right. It's something that we have to constantly be thinking about, consciously each step that we take. Like you said, just to go out and do something, just to go to a grocery store. Well, do I put it on or don't I put it on? I don't know how they're gonna react to it.
right. So you have to,
So that was, mm-hmm. Yes,
yeah,
yes. So,
yeah, I agree. Okay, so another question I had, going back to sort of like single moms, like how do you create a space for your son to sort of open up without like with keeping his masculinity intact? Because I know a lot of times, like when you have a single mom raising a son, sometimes it's perceived as like maybe, sometimes he can come out a little bit more sensitive than others.
mm-hmm.
Like seen that? Have you experienced that?
See, what I ask if when somebody brings it up, what the question I throw back to them is like, what does that mean? Sensitive. What does that mean?
Mm,
Because your sensitive may be different from my sensitive,
right.
right? And I know that yes, there's plenty of black single mothers who have raised strong black men.
Hmm.
There's been plenty of that, right? And so for me, it's like, what does that mean? Like, being sensitive. So that's the question I usually throw back at them. And usually, they're not able to give me a straightforward answer. They might say that they are girly or like, they're able to, share their emotions. Like, they're able to, express themselves too much or they're too in touch with the emotions. That's what I hear a lot. And I'm like, that's a healthy thing to be in touch with your emotions. That's a healthy thing, right? It's very healthy to be in touch with your emotions. So if you think as a guy is not in touch with emotions, I think there's something wrong. Here's my number. Let them call me so we can talk about that. So, but right. So I understand. I understand that yes, that stigma is there. but I was thinking of raising a healthy, confident, black man. That's for me. That's what I'll tell any single mother, right? You do your best, raise a single what do you call it, a healthy black man,
Mm,
whatever that looks like for you. A healthy, what does that look like for you? So because there are so many different definitions of what masculinity is,
mm-hmm.
right? If you and you have the chance, if you have a chance to whether it's an uncle or a nephew or somebody in his life who you think, okay, that might be a good influence in their life or something, fine. But not every single every single mother has that opportunity. So then, what do you say they're not, they failed as a mom or as a parent because they didn't have some kind of male role model in their life? I'll say, look, as long as you raised, a healthy person, that's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing for me.
Absolutely. I agree. Um, so now I just wanted to talk.
Dr. Sutherland, I'm sorry, one of my colleagues, Dr. Sutherland said his mom raised him. He's a big proponent of, he has, what is it, boyhood, manhood, and adulthood. So he has this thing that he teaches about, how men are supposed to graduate, how we have stages of men, boyhood, adulthood, and Dr. Sutherland, type it up. I think I'm butchering it, so you can type it up in there so I can what do you call it? Say it correctly. Like boyhood, manhood, and adulthood, right? So he talks a lot about it, about how there's like stages of manhood, right? And so there has to be stages where you go from, okay, you're in college, you're on your own, maybe you have an apartment or something, you hang out with the boys a lot, but then there has to be a switch to where, okay, now you know, I'm getting a little bit older. I have to have more responsibilities. What does that look like? Maybe that means I'm not sitting around all day playing PlayStation or hanging out with my boys while my girl is, holding down two, three jobs just to take care of us. That's not, what, a man is supposed to be doing. So like again, so I handling your responsibilities and like what does your legacy look like? So he talks a lot about it and so he breaks it down really well. So I'm sure I butchered it. So he's gonna type it up so I tell you I share with you correctly. But yeah, go ahead. You had a question.
I appreciate that. That's great though. So I actually wanted to talk a little bit, just touch a little bit about how mental health is being portrayed in the media. Because I know, like even one of your posts, it was speaking about specifically like to about Kanye West and Will Smith.
Mhm.
And I know right now it's been like a circulating joke, in my opinion. And like for me, that's hurtful, especially like someone that's dealing with bipolar. It's a very serious thing. I don't think it should be
Mhm.
nightly. Like even the memes that I see, it really hurts because I'm looking at like he has a wife, he has a family, and sometimes
Mhm.
he's he doesn't have the support system that he needs. So,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts about like how it's being portrayed in the media?
I think it's sad. It's very sad what is happening
Mm,
because these are two men that are hurting.
right.
Right? There's a team that are going through things. I don't know how self-aware Kanye West is of his mental health struggles. Unfortunately, I don't follow social media a lot, so if he's acknowledged some type of mental health challenges, I am not aware of it. But I've just seen the memes between the time that he was doing his Sunday church services, and then now he's trying to run for president. Between all these things, and there was a lot of joke about it, and then of course with Will Smith and what happened with the red table, and with Jada and all that, there was a lot of memes going on about it. And so unfortunately we live in a culture where those things are made fun of a lot.
Right.
Those are men that are struggling, but like we find joy in their pain,
Mm,
right? Which is sad. It is very sad. Those are times when we're supposed to wrap our arms around them and say, "Hey, I got you." If you need some help, hey, reach out to me. I can help you out or something like that. If you need anything, I'm here for you. But like unfortunately too many times where I am in this I am in this bubble where like pretty much my work and my friends, most of my friends are in the mental health field, so that's pretty much all we talk about. So sometimes I forget the fact that the rest of the world may not be as engaged or aware of mental health challenges as like I am, because again I'm in this bubble where I'm all constantly, it's my profession, my friend, most of my friends are also in the mental health field, so we're constantly talking about it,
right.
right? But then if go out to outside of my bubble, mental health is still, to a degree, has a stigma to it,
Right, correct.
right? Unfortunately, even in 2020, mental health still has a lot of negative stigma to it, and so I know some artists have come out and say, hey, I've struggled with depression, anxiety, this and that, PTSD, different things, but like there's still like a stigma attached to it. So some people who may be going through it, they may not, be comfortable enough coming out and saying it. But like right now with these men, especially I watched a little bit of clip, a little bit of Will Smith and Jada. I watched it a little bit over the weekend, and it's like you can when they're having this discussion, you can see the pain in his eyes,
Right.
right? An entanglement. What is an entanglement? Like, I don't know, like, what does that mean? You had an affair. Like, let's call it what it is.
My
But like, you can see.
probably what it is.
What? Right? And so yes, and so like call it what it is, right? You had an affair, and now if they choose to work on it and work on their marriage, that's their choice. Whether and people maybe making fun of Will Smith for maybe choosing to work on his marriage. But that is like those are two grown folks. They can decide if they want to work on their marriage, separate, get a divorce, whatever. That's their choice. But like you can see the pain in his eyes
Right.
when he's sitting there, and Jada is telling him what happened.
Laugh.
He's like, I'm sure he's like, destroyed on the inside. I don't know if I would have had the strength to go sit there on live and have my wife tell me that she had an affair. I don't know if I have the strength for that. That takes a lot of strength for him to go through and do that.
Right.
But like, that's also something that he has to work through on his own because it's an affair. I don't know what an entanglement is. It's an affair.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's something that he's got to process, and that's something that if they decide to work on their marriage, that's something that both of them needs to work on. That would be their choice. I hope whatever their choices are, if nothing else, for him to get some help. But for us, as society, to be making memes and gifs and just laughing about it, that is just it's. When I saw it, it made me sad. It made me sad to see all the jokes that were going on about Kanye, about Will. So it's very sad, but unfortunately, that's the world that we live in. That's like so. I'm glad that again we're having these conversations
Right.
to where we can hopefully we people are watching, listening. Hopefully, somebody's reading something, listening to something where they're educated enough to know, hey, these are things that are going on. This are affecting our mental health, their mental health, and so we have to be more sensitive to such issues that are going on.
Mm-hmm. That's how I felt too. Even just seeing him, like he said, he had to be very, very strong to sit there and deal with it. But you know what? It made me look at like my perspective of him like really changed, like to see the type like his character, to really
Mm-hmm,
be in there with his wife. So like
mm-hmm,
I hope, I mean, I always hope for the best, so I hope they're able to
mm-hmm,
work out whatever they need to work out.
mm-hmm.
Let's see, do you have children?
I do not. Yeah, me get personal quick. I don't have any children. I have a nephew and niece. My nephew's about to turn 5 this month on the 22nd. So he's a trip, but I just have a nephew and a niece. And they're a handful. So yeah, someday I hope to have kids. But right now I do not have any kids yet. Just
Yeah,
nephew and niece. Take care of them, then drop them off. Like
yeah,
so.
that's the way. um I'm sad because so I have my book, Good at Running, and it is collected.
Mhm.
It's dedicated to runaway and homeless teenagers. So it just speaks specifically about my story as a runaway teenager. Um,
Mhm.
and so what I'm trying to do, even with these lives and speaking to you about mental health, is just to definitely raise awareness for runaway and homeless teenagers. And so I was asking if you were a dad, just to speak as like a parent. I mean, and you're uncle, so you can speak sort of like as a parent to young men or to teenagers that might be struggling with issues. Like, how do you, you know, help them? How do you get them to the point? I mean, I know sometimes, like you said, it's mandated and it's like, they have to go. But how do you gently
Dr. Sutherland. Dr. Sutherland.
how do they get
Dr. Sutherland trying to hook me up. Oh man, I love him. He's a trip.
of getting help?
Go ahead. So, like as an uncle, okay, so I know I'm going to speak more as a therapist because I have more experience in that role. In terms of, like I said, I used to work with Department of Family and Health Services, which basically work with foster care. And sometimes, some of the kids that we do see, they will take or they run away from the foster homes.
Mm,
Right? Sometimes it is they don't like the foster home. Sometimes they're trying to get back to their parents. Sometimes, they think if they run away enough, that maybe, what do you call the system will return them back to their families. And so it's a trust issue, at least from the foster kids that I've worked with that, run away. It's a trust issue. And so gaining anybody's trust takes work and time. Right. Trust for me may look different than trust for you.
mm,
Right. So then it's a matter of, like I said, going back and trying to meet them where they are, wherever that is. Right. I've just been away from my home. Now I'm in some stranger's house. She's telling me or he's telling me all these wonderful things. Well, I'm just like mean mugging you, like, who are you? Why do I have to listen to you? Um, and I know some foster parents try, but again, that's not my home, right? So just talking to them, my foster kids that I've worked with, is just trying to understand, well, I miss my mom, I miss my dad. I just want to go back home,
right.
right? And so the best way we can do is just validate those feelings for them. That I've done is like, okay, that this has happened to you. It is very devastating what has happened to you. But here's what we can do at least for now. Usually, not always, but usually the parents are also working on their end. You know, they have to get certain things done to get their children back. So if I know that they're working on those things, then I'm having a conversation of, hey, mom or dad, she is working very hard to get you back, but I need you to be more patient with us, work a little bit with us. Like we have this foster home, these foster parents who are very nice, and so let's work on building trust with them. Let's work on making them comfortable as possible. Sometimes some people have gone through abusive situations and they don't know who to trust,
Right.
right? If you've been, physically abused, emotionally abused, sexually abused, I don't really want to trust you right now, or I don't want to stay anywhere that I don't have control of.
Mm-hmm.
You just put me in your home. I don't know you. I don't know what you're going to do to me. I can't even go to sleep,
Wow. Yeah.
right? So again, so working with those children again. So kids in foster care, it's a lot of like building the trust is big, and they're gonna fight you every step of the way.
Mm,
They'll fight you about like what I said about showing up. If they know that Peter's going to show up every Monday 6 o'clock, he's gonna show up. Even though I don't talk to him, he's gonna show up every Monday 6 o'clock. Okay, what does he want? I'm trying to build trust with you. I'm trying to see if you're okay. How are you doing? I know this is not your home. You want to go back home, but how are you doing? Right? It's not ideal. I'm sorry this happened to you. But like, what is the best way I can help you right now?
mm-hmm.
Until mom and dad are able to get themselves together.
Right.
So meeting them where they are, helping rebuilding trust with them, making them feel safe, is very important.
Right.
Now, some of them still take off again because again, I want to get back to mom or dad, or I cannot depend on anybody. So then I'm just gonna go off on my own and see what I can do on my own.
Right.
Safety, trust, validate is very important.
Thank you for those bullet points. It is very important. So we have like 10 minutes. So I wanted you to definitely plug your information. Let us know what's going on. I see a few things on your page about your Zoom meetings or your therapy sessions, whatever else you have going on, I'd like you to definitely plug in how people can contact you, and we will get to a few questions.
Okay. So before I answer that question, like I'm curious for you. You said you also ran away, as a teenager. Like for you, how did you deal with it, or how did you stop running?
This is your interview, no?
Is it like it's in the book, so we have to buy the book to find out?
Yeah,
We
we
have to find it.
plug my.
Okay, I can respect that. I can respect that. Okay. So I'm doing. So for right now, the main thing I'm doing is
I was gonna say, got tired. That was the answer. I got tired of running, and so I had to change my mind. Right, I had to change my mentality and decide that this isn't what I wanted, and I wanted to be a better person, and I wanted to do things the right way. And so that's when
Mhm.
change started, and I decided to go a different route.
Okay. Okay.
And so now
But I
I'm
still buy the book though. People still buy the book.
yes, but
Okay, so to answer your question, so what I have going on right now is I am doing a series on Black men and mental health. So at the first Wednesday and Friday of every month, since I've been doing it since I guess I restarted in July. So for this week, I'm doing depression, anxiety. That's what the topic is for this week. So it's usually Wednesdays at 6:30, and then Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock, and it's a Zoom link. You can register for it. It's only $5. Here's what I realized. If you give things away for free, people don't show up. There's no commitment. You
mm,
have to at least charge something. Because I tried it for free, people didn't show up. They signed up, but they didn't show up. And then when I charged something, then they showed up. So I learned that from Dr. Sutherland. Again, he's the wealth of wisdom. So if you don't know Dr. Sutherland, he's on here. Follow him. Um, so every Wednesday, well, not every Wednesday, the first 2 Wednesdays and the first 2 Saturdays of each month, all the way through April, I'm addressing different mental health issues. So, like I said, this week is depression, anxiety. We started this past Saturday was the 1st of August, so we had one the 1st of August. I know it's a good conversation, and it's not me talking for an hour and a half. It's more discussion based. So
okay.
whatever questions you have about, depression or anxiety for this week, you come in and we talk about those things. So it was a good conversation. We had a couple of brothers showed up, so I'm glad that we were able to have that conversation. And then this Wednesday we're having another one as well, 6:30, depression, anxiety. By all means, you can on my page at Juja Peter. So it's on there. You can check it out. You can register. So we can have some conversation. Unfortunately, it's like I said, it's black men only. Because like I said, that's very important to me that we have that space to be able to talk about things. To just talk about mental health. And so we talk about that. We go off and talk about other stuff, basketball, whatever it is, and then we come back to it. Basketball just started. Thank God for NBA. Just restarted, right? But we're able to talk about that. We can maybe process that. How are you feeling about basketball being back? I am excited. I'm happy for it. Like shoot. So again, those are all emotions that I'm building. But the goal for me, one, is to create a space for where black men can, process their feelings and emotions. Talk about different things. We've talked about family of origin because we discussed how that affects, how we grew up as an adult, how we are. We've talked about that. We've talked about trauma. We've addressed, social injustice in the past. And so moving forward, there's still like I have addictions that I want to discuss addiction. I want to discuss PTSD. I want to discuss other stuff. So it's just about healing. Yes, definitely building our men, healing them. And then come October, part of this process for me is learning more particularly, what I can do to continue to push the conversation forward instead of for black mental health, for specifically for black men. So what we've gathered so far, at least for me, is again the emotional well-being piece of it is very important for me, right? And so come October, I'm going to start. They're going to get another group that I'm starting for just emotional well-being. That's just going to be about 6 weeks. class that again is just it's a support group for Black men, and it's specifically for emotional well-being. So we'll be digging into it, getting into every little nit and cranny, and it's just like I said about just Black men, emotional well-being. I haven't put that one up yet. That will be going out by the end of this month, and then we'll go from there.
That's
So.
all right. I'm just trying to post like your name in, which is not working, but I'm trying. There.
There we go. You got it.
Okay. So that was great information. I appreciate it. I think we have one question here, so I'm gonna like put it up.
Go ahead.
Okay. How can we quickly identify when we are carrying too much tense?
Why can't we quickly identify when we're carrying too much tense? So I would say if you know what your normal state is, right? Like I was saying earlier about my colleague, she found herself lashing out just, at her coworkers and her family during that week, right? She would just find herself just like snapping off at people. Like, and that's not like her. That was unusual for her.
Mm-hmm.
That's out of character. So she had to take a step back to say, this is not like me, what's going on with me?
Right.
Right. So taking that self-examination is very important.
Right.
And then knowing where your limit is at, because sometimes we get into the habit of, I want to say yes to everything, be helpful for everybody, but like self-care is very important as well too.
Right.
So, right, for me, how I know is when I get happy, when a client cancels and I'm happy about it, I'm like, Peter, why are you happy about this? Now, there's some difficult clients, so when they cancel, okay, you know what? Thank God for that break. But but if that is happening more often when clients cancel and then I'm happy about it or like I'm relieved, then I know like I'm about to burn out.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
Right? That's how I know for me. Right? So knowing where your limitations are, knowing that, and then and so then when you realize that okay, I'm just pushing too hard, I'm struggling a little bit too much to get through this thing that I usually get through pretty easily. Work has been like struggling. I'm just down all the time. I'm exhausted. And even when I wake up tired. So just knowing yourself, knowing your body, knowing that this doesn't feel quite like me. So like when that is happening, then you know, okay, maybe I need to maybe take a step back, unload, right? If you go on, I'm part of this network called the Counseling Brothers of Atlanta. We have a page on here, and we've done a lot of different things for Minority Mental Health Month. And one of the things that we discuss is self-care. We talk about body, mind, soul, right? So just little things that we do for self-care. So it doesn't have to be taking 2 weeks off or to going on vacation or going, some people have different things that they do. So it's about, I did one with a colleague that says know your self-care. So what works for you, right?
Right.
So different little things that you can do, taking breaks in the middle of the day. So self-care should just twice, but just not just when you go on vacation or, the holidays are coming so I can take some time off. Some people cannot afford to take a vacation. They can't. But maybe just, whatever that looks like for you, you have to find out what works for you. Like I said, I'll take a walk, I'll go do something, go to the gym. It's very important for me. I do those things. Checking in with friends. I'm very mindful. Like my love language is like quality time. It's like is my primary love language. So I seek that like okay, I have to check in with my friends here and there. How are you guys doing? What's going on with you? Do a FaceTime, Zoom call. I did a Zoom call with a couple of buddies like last month. Well, just like 2.5 hours or just clowning, just being silly. But it was just good to just laugh and catch up with them, right? So just little things that you can do. Those are not expensive that you can do when you find yourself getting to that point where you're just struggling to just do the daily tasks is very important, I find.
So unfortunately, we have like 1 minute left.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get long with it sometimes.
You did so well. I really appreciate you taking out this time to come talk to us. Appreciate your time. I value your words. And until we meet again, I'm gonna post this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invite, like I said. Thank you very much. Dr. Sutherland, thank you very much for all your help. I appreciate it.
Have a good
Thank you, you too. Bye bye.